Hi, welcome back. This is section 1.1, giving our world an origin. And today, we'll be doing things a bit different. Instead of doing the presenting first then trying it out in Unity, we will go through the slides as we work inside the editor. This more hands-on approach should make the slides a bit less abstract. So let's open up our Unity project. Inside the editor, right-click and you'll find a new category of game objects called XR. This was brought in by the XR Interaction Toolkit, and contains all the game objects included in the package. We will go over each of these game objects and the scripts on them in later sections. Today, we'll take a look at perhaps the most important game object here, XR Origin. XR Origin is a game object, or more specifically the script on a game object, that represents the center of the world in our VR scene. As we saw earlier, we create an XR origin by right-clicking in the inspector and selecting XR origin. So now let's create an XR origin. Inside here, right-click, XR, and let's select this one, XR origin VR. There are many different types of XR origin, and I'll go through them in the later slides, but right now select this one. You notice it generated two objects, XR Interaction Manager and XR Origin. Today, we'll just be focusing on XR Origin. We'll discuss XR Interaction Manager when we are discussing interactions in a later section. When we create an XR Origin, it not only generates the game object itself, but also child game objects that track and mirror the movements of the VR device. In Unity, you can see here, inside it, here's a camera offset, and inside here you have the left-hand controller, the right-hand controller, and the main camera. Now these objects represent the position of these parts of a VR device. The scripts on all of the game objects generated have many fields, but they will all be pre-filled thanks to the script presets we added from the XR Interaction Toolkit starter assets. As you can see in Unity, that is of course the case. For this controller you can see there are so many fields you need to fill in. So many thanks to the presets, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are many different types of XR Origin, and I'll go through them now. Firstly, I'll make a distinction between action-based and device-based XR Origins. Action-based XR Origins are recommended and will be used for this course. Now, let's go into Unity and look at the two types. Now, the action-based XR Origins are these two, the ones on the outside, while the device-based XR Origin is the one tucked into this section. We'll explain their difference in the next slide. Additionally, on the outside, for the action-based XR Origins, you notice that there are two, one labeled VR. Logically, we should use the one labeled with VR. The standard XR Origin is basically a more stripped-down version of this VR version, and does not contain scripts for tracking VR controllers. So basically, you have the main camera here, but no left-hand controller or right-hand controller. And now, I'll explain the difference between action-based and device-based XR Origins. They basically differ in how they receive input. Action-based XR Origins receive input from Unity's new action system, which allows you to separate your code for input from their specific mappings to various VR controllers. This separation allows you to easily support different types of controllers without changing code, which is great if you're looking to distribute to different platforms. On the other hand, device-based XR Origins do not have this separation, and it interacts with and gets input from controllers directly. This makes creating cross-platform applications hard, as you have to consider and interface with many different controllers in your code. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Unity's action system, here's a brief overview, though I suggest you spend some time looking into it as it is a powerful system for receiving input. For developing VR in this course, all you need to know about the action system is that in the system you create an input action asset, which holds generic actions that code can receive input from. Through Unity, you can then map these generic actions to whatever controller inputs you like. By the way, the file with many actions included in the starter asset, this one, is an example of an input action asset. Most of the mapping has been done for us in this file, which will save us a lot of time. This provided input action asset is used in the presets we set up earlier, and as you can see, make up the fields for the different scripts that track the motion of the camera and controllers. Using these provided actions, they are able to follow the position of the camera and the controller in 3D space. Before I end the video, I want to discuss this script on the XR Origin, Input Action Manager. It actually used to not be a part of the XR Origin, but was something you had to add manually. If you are somehow using an older version of XR Interaction Toolkit, you may need to add it as a component down here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are using this provided input action asset to track the position of our headsets and controllers. The actions in this asset, though, need to be enabled and disabled through code. As there are many different actions in here, the Input Action Manager script helps us automatically enable and disable these actions. All you have to do, as we can see here, is to provide the Input Action Manager script with the Input Action asset, which has already been done for us through the presets we set up. These presets really save us quite a lot of work. Okay, so now we have a working VR app. There's nothing in the VR world at the moment, but it should run. In the next video, we will learn how to connect our VR headset to Unity to playtest this VR application. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm excited to see you in the next video.